Okay, hi again. All right, this is entitled Male Daughters, Barren Women, and Virgins. Woohoo! Okay, so this it has to be updated. There's a lot of things that need to be added about the research about eunuchs, this person says. But I'll read what it has so far. The understanding of male and female, exemplified by Aristotle's definition, didn't always distinguish lesbians and transgendered males as a separate category of woman. As Aristotle stated, femaleness was defined as the capacity to reproduce within one's own body. Lesbians and transgendered males are physically just as able to do this as other women. Even if they're not excited by a man, a sexual encounter can still take place, which can lead to pregnancy. This is in contrast to the case with gay men who must obtain an erection and therefore be aroused to some degree in order to fulfill the male role with respect to reproduction. Still, some women are identified in ancient cultures as having a male nature. Based on evidence from the Code of Hammurabi, the Sumerian culture recognized a separate type of woman called a Zalzinkrum, a compound word meaning male daughter. A Zalzinkrum was entitled to greater rights of inheritance than an ordinary woman. Like a priestess, she could inherit a full share of her father's estate to use during her lifetime, after which it reverted to her brother's heirs, while an ordinary woman was not entitled to share in the paternal estate at all. So, if the father made a written stipulation to her, a Salzurincum could also dispose of her inheritance in any way she wanted, creating the possibility to start a family of her own with a wife or wives of her own. Hey! So by law, if a Salzincrum had any children that she could put up for adoption, she could not reclaim them, and the children were punished if they sought out their biological mother. Okay, so thus I believe that she, like the eunuch, was generally expected to remain childless. Perhaps she was also a temple servant or priestess like other priestesses and the eunuchs. The Babylonian flood myth, Atrahasis, mentions non-procreating women who were created after the flood in order to help keep the human population down. Overpopulation was the reason for the flood in this myth. In Egyptian mythology, the goddess of nymphs and her twin brother Seth may have been intended as the gay, non-procreative counterparts to the straight Isis and Osiris. Sorry. The nymphs is usually thought of in the company of Isis and is generally childless, unless she eventually has a child by Osiris. And she exposes the child, Anubis, but Isis finds him and raises him. And Plutarch says the nymph's pregnancy symbolizes the flowering of the dry desert whenever the Nile exceeds its normal flood limits. The Indian laws of Manu, book number 8, 364 to 370, has some strange provisions about sex with willing and unwilling virgins. I believe the research into the virgin type would yield some good results. Numbers 369, 370 are particularly suggestive. This is a translation by Doniger, Doniger. If a virgin does it to another virgin, she should be fined 200 pennies, be made to pay double the girl's bride price, and receive 10 whiplashes. But if a mature woman does it to a virgin, her head should be shaved immediately, or 2 of her fingers should be cut off, and she should be made to ride on a donkey. goodness. Removing Donger's parenthetical interpretations, the distinction here is between virgins and women. The distinction could be equivalent to one between women not interested in men sexually and women who do desire men. In this way, women who are interested in men are punished more severely for indulging in homosexual sex, while the woman who is not interested in men is made to suffer punishment that, while terrible, may be an ordeal of toughness and a test of commitment and a capacity to bear the burden of being a husband to her partner. The virgin is expected to do right financially by the family or her beloved, like a potential husband. Of course, the 10 whip lashes are probably not a feature of most heterosexual weddings, and their inclusion as punishment for the virgin seducer of virgins may simply show a disapproval of homosexual relationships, even between women of homosexual identity. Reverend Nancy Wilson has already interpreted the barren woman in Isaiah 54 and the eunuchs in Isaiah 56 as our gay, lesbian, and bisexual antecedents. The Talmud mentions a female counterpart to the eunuch called an oh boy, I'm going to butcher this again. Aionolit. Anolit? I don't know. Okay. Her identifying marks, according to the rabbis, are lateness or absence of pubic hair growth, lack of breast, pain during copulation, lack of her menstrual period. Finally, the fact that her voice is so deep that one cannot distinguish whether it is a man or a woman. I also found that the Hebrew scriptures, a certain kind of unmarried woman or virgin, Alma, is mentioned, who is distinguished from the ordinary virgin with an intact hymen, occurs 50 times in the Bible, and Bethulium for virginity occurs 10 or more times, while Alma is used only 7 times. The word exists in modern Hebrew in a masculine gender form, elam, meaning a youth or a lad, but the feminine form is absent from Hebrew English dictionary. The meaning of Alma could be a female lad or what we today would call tomboy. That was me. In any case, Proverbs 30:18 through 19 gives a riddle about the Alma that may help to determine who she is. There be 3 kings which are too wonderful for me, yea, 4 which I know not. The way of an eagle into the sky, the way of a snake into a rock, the way of a ship into the heart of the sea, and the way of a man with an Alma. To my mind, this riddle is very suggestive. It's a list of impenetrable barriers. In each of the similes, the first item is unable to penetrate the second item. The speaker says that these ways lie outside his sphere of knowledge. The eagle can never pierce the sky, snake can never penetrate a rock, ship can never descend into the heart of the sea, perhaps as a wreckage, but not as a ship. And so the writer implies a man cannot have sexual intercourse with a lesbian. Well, at least not in the way that he wants it. In Psalm 68:25, an almath, the plural of alma, plays timbrels in the sanctuary, and this recalls the Sumerian priest and priestess who play instruments in the temple. In the Song of Solomon 1:3, the love of an almath for Solomon is given as evidence of the exceptionally sweet flavor of his kisses and his ointments. Song of Solomon 6:8 says that along with 60 queens and 80 concubines, Solomon's harem included innumerable almath, and this could be a hyperbolic praise of Solomon along the lines of even the lesbians love him. Or some such, and it may be a male sexual fantasy to be with lesbians. You're The remaining three occurrences of the word Almath include some of the Bible's most prominent young women. Moses' sister Miriam, the prophetess, was called an Almath, and she was the one who watched over him while he floated down the river as a baby and arranged for Pharaoh's daughter to let Moses' mother nurse him. Later she was stricken with leprosy, and Miriam never did marry. Sorry, she got leprosy though. Wow. When Isaac's servants went to find a wife for him, he predicted that when Almath came to fetch water from the well and responded in a particular way to his request for water, she would be the woman for Isaac to marry. The woman who fulfilled his prediction was Rebekah, who may have seemed tomboyish. In a patriarchal culture in which men have rights over their wives, a lesbian might be an ideal wife. The husband knows she won't go chasing after other men. The last and perhaps most significant occurrence of Almath in the Hebrew Scriptures is in Isaiah 7:14. Behold, an Almath shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Thus it is quite possible that the Messiah was to be born not of a virgin, as the King James Version translates it, but of a lesbian, a woman who is not turned on by sex with men. In fact, the Quran also seems to indicate that Mary was not an ordinary female. It says that Mary's mother declared at her birth, "Behold, I have brought it forth a female." Behold, I have brought it forth a female. And Allah knew best what she brought forth, and the male is not like the female. To ancient cultural thinking, only men had this heat necessary to give form to semen and create a child. The fact that Mary was blessed with child without the contribution of a man may have in itself made her seem in some way male. Latin uses the word virago for manly, warlike women, and the word would also be used by the Romans for woman who aggressively and exclusively pursue women as sexual partners, and it was also used for virgins. There is more than a passing relationship between a virago and virgo, the word for virgin, and the concept seems related, since a woman who refused men, no matter if she was sexually active with women, would remain a virgin in the eyes of the ancient world. Okay, so that is that, and I wanted to share that with you as well, because it also includes the Almath, or in Matthew 19:11-12, a natural-born eunuch. There's another name for females, which is, I think, in Hebrew was saras, and in Greek there's another word, another term. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But definitely a male daughter, and somebody who was born that way, who was impotent to the opposite sex, who could not, maybe physically could conceive because they had all the working parts, but just did not have the same thing as a heterosexual woman towards a heterosexual man. So I hope that this helps to illuminate your soul and your mind about these particular people. And you have to remember that throughout the world, all across the board, at least 9-10% of the population is of the LGBTQ community. Okay? God bless you. I hope this, again, blesses you in some way. All right. Bye-bye.